Thanks for joining us for the March 24th, 2023 episode of Den Excelsior, the Mostly Marvel podcast. I'm Dennis, and I'll be your host as we recap the latest super news that caught our attention across the multiverse. But as the show title suggests, it'll probably be mostly Marvel. Later in this episode, we'll be putting a spotlight on Shazam, Fury of the Gods, directed by David F. Sandberg. But before that, we'll be getting into some nerd news and some Q&A with our special guest. For those of you turning in, don't be shy. We love hearing from you in the comments. And if you can't get enough of us, you should check patreon.com/genxmedia, where you can find a variety of creative offerings, including recent episodes of our live after show, The Soapbox. We're not going to be recording The Soapbox for this episode. This is actually a pre-recorded one. So if you're tuning in live, really appreciate you. But scheduling was just a little complicated. So we're recording this one not live. With that out of the way, though, formality's gone. Let's get people out here so we can talk about everything that we want to talk about. First up, this time I can say definitively he is the Billy to my Freddy. It's Ricky.
It was the other way around last week, right?
Yeah, I said it the other way around last week.
Okay.
But then we were like, but wasn't Freddy kind of like the better character? And I was like, yeah, I don't know, whatever. But this time around, Freddy's definitely the better character.
Yeah, it's a Freddy movie plus Shazam.
It's a Freddy movie with Shazam in it. Yes, yes. But you know, cart before the horse. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, let's bring out the other Shazamly member.
The Shazamly member. I like that. I was gonna say he's the guy in our trenches. He is the person when the ask is too big, we always get Clarke.
Shazam!
Nice.
And I just want to say, after that wonderful introduction, since I didn't hear you guys last week, literally I said that a whole year ago. It's a Freddy movie in Shazam. Bing! I totally am with you guys on that 100%.
Yeah, Freddy's a better agent for sure.
Well, you couldn't have said that a year ago because that would be violating a non-disclosure agreement.
That's why I didn't say it, but I've been waiting to say that for a whole year.
So we're going to get into it in a little bit, but like Clarke, I just want to thank you for showing up. And I think it's really cool that you actually saw one of the earliest test screenings of Shazam.
The very first. Actually, they told us we were the very first audience to see it.
So you actually watched it last year. What month was it that you watched it?
It was before Black Adam came out. So it was like 2 months before Black Adam. Because I thought it was going to be Black Adam.
Comic-Con last year.
Yeah. So like we were in line and I thought it was going to be Black Adam. And then they said, you're going to see Shazam. Because I saw it was a Warner Brothers movie.
Right.
But just answered an ad in the newspaper. Actually, it was on Facebook. And yeah, it was. I saw it at the Americana in Glendale.
That's awesome.
I got roped into a screening because I thought I was going to see The Flash, and I ended up not seeing The Flash.
There are movies that haven't really been announced yet that I've seen already that I'm not supposed to talk about yet.
So full disclosure.
It's great living in LA. Go see screenings.
So full disclosure, if you're sticking around here because you want to hear our awesome review of Shazam Fury of the Gods, I'm just going to put this out there, much like we did Ant-Man Quantumania. The reason we stagger this is because we got tired of I got tired of last year always trying to scoop people and watch a movie and then instantly discuss it and spoil everything. So nowadays what we do is we actually watch the movie in advance and then wait about a week, or in Clarke's case, about 7 months. And then we talk about the movie together. So it's all going to be based on memory, guys. And Clarke's memory is going to be the worst of all of ours. But it's going to be really fun. And so stick around for that. But yeah, Clarke, I think you were on the show only about a month and a half ago for Kroll. Mm-hmm. Kroll, right?
Yes.
Oh, and Ricky invited you back, huh? That's crazy.
That's right.
Oh, that movie.
That movie. Yeah, so we haven't been doing the show as regularly, and it's because we've been kind of doing
We're in Star Wars mode right now.
yeah, we're in Star Wars mode because where's the Marvel content? Like we got an Ant-Man, and that was the only thing we got so far. Yeah,
We
we've been
got
doing
Where
a
where
different show.
is the secret
Where is the secret what? Oh, Secret
secret
Invasion?
invasion? Yeah.
Yeah,
oh
seriously, right?
yeah, right.
So yeah, there's been a bit of drought of Marvel content and DC content for that matter. So what we decided to do is just kind of go back into our exploring our roots. And for for 8 weeks straight, we're doing special recordings of our Mandalorian podcast. We have spoken. If you haven't checked that out, please check it out. Clark was gracious enough to like join us for that one this week as well. So he's doing double duty. So that's why I say when the ask is big, we get Clark.
I
Um,
mean, Clark's gonna join us this weekend. Probably we're all gonna be at WonderCon,
Yes, we
right?
are.
exactly. One of the reasons we had to record this early, just because things are going to get pretty crazy this weekend. We're going to see each other in person and
Mhm.
do WonderConning and stuff like that. Yeah. But what have you been up to in the meantime, Clark?
Uh, I work at laist.com, which formerly KPCC.
Support local radio.
Yes, which is on our pledge drive right now. So please go in. I get bonus points for doing the pledge.
Suzanne
the
Watley
shows.
needs you.
She does. And I'm also working on a play in Pasadena. Last year I did Hamlet. This year we're doing Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap, and that'll be end of April. And I'll have more information about that. Hopefully I'll be on again before that happens. But that's the end of April in Pasadena City College.
And
So,
hopefully that English accent is improving, right?
actually, our dialogue coach. Yeah, we're working with our English dialogue coach tomorrow night. So
Is
Good.
that someone who works at the school or someone they brought in?
somebody they brought in.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool. Awesome.
So one of the reasons
Your
why it
tuition
took-
hard at work right there.
You betcha.
Nice. I'll ask the question I always ask our guests and Ricky. What have you guys been nerding out on this week? I want the nerdy stuff. I don't want none of this like work or football or whatever.
What have I been nerding out on? I'm dipping my toe in Fortnite again.
I was Fortnite's. I've liked
like
this
it.
episode, this
That's-
season. I like so far.
That
This season's
Fortnite
pretty cool.
GDC stuff
Um,
looks bananas. It's different, unrelated, but they are putting
Yes.
Unreal Engine 2 into Fortnite creative,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
it
yeah.
is insane.
Uh-huh. So
I don't know if you've
I want
seen-
to try those.
They have single player games created by Epic and other developers co-created by them that are available as different modes you can play. I've been playing some of them. There's an escape room one. It looks amazing. The gameplay experience, maybe 5-10 minutes long tops, but it's pretty cool.
It's a
pretty
cool sandbox.
Yeah.
I watched the movie finally, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
And he said it was good.
It was
He's
good.
like, it's good.
Well, I think the hype may have gotten to me a little bit.
Ricky,
Yeah.
you didn't want to see it since the beginning because you were afraid of the hype.
And
So that's been a year. That's been a year.
yeah, and the hype only got bigger.
But why didn't you see it when it first came out?
I mean, it was hard to find on streaming, and then it was like thing, and then it was $20, and then
It was not hard.
I gotta delete Showtime right now after this show before I forget. I liked it. I liked the movie. I liked it. It's very sci-fi. I will say Top Gun Maverick is still probably my favorite movie that came out last year.
Okay. Cool.
I want to give a shout out to Lance Reddick.
Oh man.
R.I.P.
I'm
Zavala.
sorry.
I definitely nerded out on some Lance Reddick this week.
Yes, you were asked what I nerded out on. I going on Destiny, and I paid my respects with other people in the tower, and that was emotional. Knowing that he played Destiny the day before he died, he was playing Destiny.
Oh really?
Yeah. His and his wife came out and talked about how much he appreciated the whole Destiny community, and how much, I mean, talking with other Destiny fans. I mean, it's like it's he was the backbone of that game that I've played more than probably any other game for the last 9 years.
Yeah.
And so
The thing I love about Lance Reddick is no matter what the project is, you feel
mhm,
he commits 110% to it. Like, I
Mhm.
don't know if you've ever
absolutely.
seen some of the stuff he's done on Adult Swim.
The Eric
Like
Andre show bit is hilarious.
Eric Andre show bit,
He is
110%.
down that whole thing.
You have never seen anything like it, and I promise you, you will never see anything like it again. Also, his episode that he does on Tim and Eric's bedtime stories is pretty amazing. These are both really weird, out there comedies, but he commits. Like
Yeah.
he's very famously known for The Wire, which I know,
Yep.
is one of those shows that everybody says you're supposed to watch, and a lot of people end up never watching it for the same reason Ricky didn't watch Everything Everywhere. I watched The Wire, so when I read that Lance Reddick died, it hurt me the most there because The Wire is, in my opinion, one of the best shows I've ever seen, and it's largely because of him. And so, like,
Mhm.
at least I know that that show is it's in its entirety, right? But
And
like Destiny
yeah,
can no longer
yeah.
use that character, right?
No.
Or they have
Well,
to replace him.
I
They
wanna
yeah. And John Wick, which comes out this weekend.
I know, right? Oh, it comes out this weekend?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize it comes out this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh my
I wanna
goodness.
I wanna parlay that point because to especially the Destiny bit, right? If all parties consent, are you cool with AI voice
No.
of Lance Reddick continuing?
Only for the final episode where they give him a send off. But not in perpetuity.
'Cause that's what James Earl Jones did. He signed that deal with the
Really?
Disney. So
That
the
they can use him
Vader,
in
the
perpetuity?
Mufasas, yeah. I don't know if it's
Really?
in perpetuity, but he did sign away rights for an AI voice to continue
You know what?
past
You
his
know
time
what?
here.
I kind of
If he
understand
if
that
if
more.
he consents to it though,
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
honestly,
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
Yeah.
bootleg it, but for
like
Yeah.
for
No.
all these voices that we have and we've lost,
but it's
I'm
kind
curious
of
what the
interesting.
moral.
It's kind of interesting to know that we'll always have the same Darth Vader forever. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
Kind of cool.
that's kind of cool. There still should be an actor recording it so that you get the tone and stuff like
Mhm.
that, and then you layer the AI over it, I guess. But yeah, that's cool. I
I
guess.
mean, when Nathan Fillion left Destiny, that was hard. But yeah, this one, it's too much. He's too much of an important character, and there's so much they need to give him a great send off,
Yeah.
and then write a new character in, which they did with Nathan Fillion, and the new character Crow, which you guys don't stop playing, is a great character. So the character they got to replace him as the hunter, the archetype, is a wonderful character. So
Is
um,
is it the
I,
same crow from Mystery Science Theater?
no,
Okay, cool.
it
Just
is
making sure.
not.
Making sure. All right. So just to be clear, this is like our 91st episode of Den Excelsior. We're getting really close to 100, by the way. And I gotta say, as long as I've been asking, what did you guys nerd on? No one has ever delivered as hard as you guys just did right now. I totally felt in these last 5 minutes that I am sitting with two real nerds right now. Like,
Wow.
thank you.
I'm
I
glad it
appreciate
took
that.
You are
91
welcome.
episodes.
Thank you.
Well,
And
yeah.
that's all I want. That's all I want is to capture the true nerdiness of us before we move on to nerdy news.
Is that my cue?
It was, man. If I edited these episodes, they would be so great. They would be so great. But I don't edit them.
Feel for time, right?
Yeah.
What do we got in news? Shocker, as reported by the Hollywood Reporter, Marvel Studios veteran Victoria Alonso leaves. This one's a little weird. There's some conflicting articles. I think just we'll hit it with the facts. She is kind of the second in command at Marvel Studios.
Or
She's the
was.
only.
Yeah.
She was. She's the only other person to be credited on every single movie.
Besides Kevin Feige, right?
Besides Feige, since the Avengers, she's been an executive producer.
Mhm.
And she left. And with this, the kind of speculation going around is superhero movies aren't doing so hot right now. Ant-Man's not doing Ant-Man's making money, but it's not making Marvel money.
And
Shazam,
Shazam is definitely not making the
definitely not
money.
making money.
Yeah.
Um, Black Panther was a hit, but Thor was kind of in that same boat. It made money, but
Hmm.
not the checks that were being written a few years back. And the consensus seems to be is this is kind of the first head to roll in response to what are deemed misfires in within the studio.
So do you think she was let go, or do you think she left?
Could be a little both, right? Like you show someone the door and let them walk out if they want.
Hmm.
That's my take on it.
Interesting.
Um,
I mean, I don't know enough about this to
Yeah.
speculate, but you seem to like, have an opinion, so I was
she,
curious.
from my understanding of her role, her primary function
Hmm.
was overseeing a lot of the post production of the movies. And
Mhm.
again, could be related, could not be related, but again, there's been ongoing issues with the post production process over at Marvel, and the uh, the stress they put on their workers or contractors there.
Yeah, it's quite a
So
lot. It's
it could be. I mean, it's all conjecture, but it's she is no longer with Marvel Studios. I'm sure wherever she goes next, to have what is it, 20 or 32 Marvel projects on your resume, I'm sure you're
yeah,
getting a job somewhere else. No
yeah,
questions asked.
yeah. I mean, it was when I read the news, I was like, "Oh man, that's crazy." And then I thought about it, and I was like, I actually don't know much about her role in this because we've always kind of like just put Kevin Feige as the figurehead of
Hmm.
this whole thing. So I'm like, I don't know that this is good or bad,
I
but
think this is more like This is like more Hollywood news, if
yeah,
anything. But
the optics aren't good. That's for sure, right? Like that's
no.
like if your first mate suddenly jumps ship or gets kicked off the ship, whatever it is,
Mhm.
like that's not necessarily good.
Yeah.
So, but who knows? What else you got? Or Clark, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I think Marvel will swing back. Again, I think this is just
You got Iger
you
back too,
can't
right?
when you went
Iger?
all the way up with Avengers, Endgame, Infinity War, and Endgame. I mean, that was such a peak. You can't stay at that level. There's just no way you could stay at that level. And I think people are,
Yep.
they look at Ant-Man and they're like, oh, it was a disappointment, and yet it was the most successful. Wasn't it the most successful Ant-Man movie
Yeah.
I
of all
think so.
three?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
And
but
it's like the third most successful movie of the year so far.
there's
Yeah.
definitely, you
And
know,
that's I have a big problem when it's like that and people go, "Oh, it bombed." I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
it
Right.
didn't."
Yeah.
That's
but it's like
ridiculous.
it's subjective though, right? Like,
But yeah, I mean they're going through stuff, and I think the bigger shakeup is at Disney Plus. With their like going, okay, maybe we did flood it a little too much, and well, why I said where's Secret Invasion,
did you
and
see? There's rumor floating around that they're trying to sell off. I want to say Hulu in the U.S. Disney, or their share of Hulu, and just roll with
Really?
Disney Plus. Yeah, because for the rest of the world, Disney Plus is Hulu. I think that people
yeah,
don't
I
realize that.
actually yeah. I heard something about that, but it's so small rumor, so
Mhm.
enough. Not that I would comment on it, but yeah,
Do you mean to say that for the rest of the world, all the stuff that they have on Hulu is on Disney Plus? That's what you
Yes,
mean to say? Okay.
yes,
yes,
that's what I
Yeah.
mean.
hmm
Mhm.
Not the other way around. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but
Yeah. Okay. Well, what else you got?
let's talk about some bigger news. This one was kept coming around, and so the Wrap, uh, a somewhat trusted news source, basically had an article
Scott Mendelson, right? He's been around for a while reporting on news, so or
detailing
Hollywood news. Yeah.
Dwayne Johnson kind of sabotaged, or to their word, kneecapped Shazam 2 while trying to take over DC. Um, and it goes through trials and tribulations on his refusal to be part of Shazam 2, or kind of doing type of cross promotion when the opportunity was still there before the shakeup with James Gunn. But what kind of flipped this thing to a whole nother level was Zachary Levi, on his own accord, kind of acknowledged this on his Twitter. I forgot the phrasing, but something along the lines of "the truth will set you free," and sharing a screenshot of this article. So
Wow.
that's not a good look at all for The Rock.
Yeah.
And this is something we've been talking about in our D&D group. Like, I don't think The Rock was down to play ball past
and it
Black
makes
Adam.
that phrase when he said the power hierarchy,
hierarchy of
of
the-
DC is changing, and you're like, oh, he wasn't just talking about the movies.
Yeah.
Because
But
it doesn't. If
I mean,
it
we're
doesn't
gonna
it
we're
doesn't
gonna
make
get
sense. Black
Yeah.
Adam cannot be the center of the DC universe. Why he would ever even think that?
this is the strings he pulled to get Henry Cavill at the end of his movie, but not
Yeah.
Shazam, who would be his arch nemesis, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was weird.
I mean, we can talk a little bit more about this later, but I definitely felt a sore spot watching Shazam 2 this week and knowing that the Rock's already out. He's not even taking calls, right? Like from DC anymore. And so
You piss off The Rock. The Rock has, for better or worse, fuck you money and will leave. That's what happened with the Fast and Furious.
Yeah,
He's
it's true.
done. That's what happened with this.
It's true.
So
yeah, but we can talk more about this later. But yeah, this is
I think
this
it's
is
a topic for
unfortunate.
later in the episode. Yeah, and it matters.
It does.
We'll swing back to this.
But we'll swing back to some more Spider-Man Marvel Legends.
That is
Oh
beautiful.
man,
I have
and
not
Spider-Man's.
I have this toy on pre-order from the last one.
So yes.
Shipped.
So when you say you haven't seen this, you almost have actually. This is a brand new Marvel Legends Miles Morales from the video game Spider-Man 2 figure. He's actually a slight repaint of the one that came out I want to say 2 years ago for
Armadillo Wave.
The Armadillo Wave with for Spider-Man into the No Way Home. No Way Home had a few video game figures in there, and this was him, but with the suit that more accurately matched him from that video game, the Miles Morales video game. So people have noticed there are slight differences to the costume on this figure to be more in line with what he looks like in the new upcoming Spider-Man 2 game that's coming out in September, I believe. So his arms are different, basically, and he also comes with blue Venom Blast hands instead of yellow ones.
Yeah, the hands are what.
And instead of an unmasked Miles Morales head, he comes with a cat.
A goose repaint.
It's a repaint of not Goose. Goose is a very specific cat, but this cat has been reused several times. So this one went up for pre-order today. If you're interested, it's a good-looking Spider-Man figure. It's all pinless. It was actually one of my favorite figures of that year when it came out. It's a great Miles Morales. So yeah, pick it up.
The box text also was released, giving us little tidbits about the game. But the line that's catching people is it talks about Miles dealing with enemies both in New York and across the multiverse.
Oh, interesting.
So maybe
we'll see
some multiverse action in Spider-Man 2.
All right, and then before we scoop to the next slide, I do want to. I just said before. I'll take over. Well, here, this one's fine. You can see this one. I got control of this for a minute, Ricky. Before we go to the next slide, I just want to give a tiny spoiler warning for anybody who's excited for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. There are figures I'm about to show that have already been leaked about a month or two ago, but there was some new additions to them that came out today. Clarke, I think you're gonna really want to see these.
Yeah, no,
but it's also gonna kind of just spoil a surprise for you.
It's okay.
Here you go. Cyborg Spider-Woman is the name on the box. Cyborg Spider-Woman and Jessica Drew are two figures that are just recently revealed this week, or actually today.
Is that the first pregnant Marvel Legends?
Is she? Which one's pregnant?
Jessica Drew.
Is she pregnant? I can't tell.
Yeah.
Okay. If she is, then I'll say yes.
Is that a spoiler?
I don't know.
guess now it is.
Yeah, maybe. But Clarke, I know you love Cyborg Spider-Man. That is a beefed up looking version of it that apparently is actually a woman in there. What do you think about that?
I want to see the context.
Okay, cool. It's a deluxe
You know,
figure. That thing's big. It's
It
separate
looks
from the
huge. It
wave.
looks like a great figure, but I want to see the movie.
Yeah, and then the wave, as we've seen previously rumored, is actually going to be on a card back instead of the regular Marvel Legends no plastic packaging. And this is all just so that they can continue not giving me damn Build-A-Figures. They're just like, look at these
They
beautiful
put it in the big
retro
box. You can buy it separate.
I'm so angry. Okay, and then just to recap, here's the other figures from the wave. Obviously, there's a Miles in the updated costume. There's a Gwen in updated costume. Those look
That's
great.
almost too skinny.
There's a new version of Peter B. Parker in the sweatpants without the jacket. The previous Marvel Legend had the jacket and an unmasked head. And I love the beefed up Spider-Man.
That is a Dorito chip.
Yeah, I definitely love that they're
Spider-Man.
embracing the aesthetic of the movie.
Yes.
and the proportions, and it's really cool. And then lastly, I don't have a full inbox packaging of Spider-Punk, but there is a full packaging of the Spot. I love his proportions.
Spot
They're
looks
Wow,
weird.
yeah, that
It
is
looks
different.
different from what they showed.
But I love that he's got a spot with Miles coming out of it.
It looks like
Can you see
Osmosis
it?
Jones.
There's a
Yeah, on the
spot
right.
with Miles's head on the right. Yeah,
There's
that's
one in
awesome.
the hand
And
one
there's one
too.
with his hand coming out of it too. Yeah, those are really cool accessories. It would also be nice if he came with accessories for a Build-A-Figure too, but they don't. So whatever, it's fine. And then I think that's all that I had to show. But maybe there was the back of the box of Jessica Drew. Yeah, there she is. She is pregnant, huh? And there's all the figures that are going to be in the wave, in case you couldn't see them before.
She better be,
voiced by-
if she's just a big girl, you guys are gonna feel real bad.
I'm pretty certain that was announced when the trailer came out. Voiced by
Gotcha.
Issa Rae and Jessica Drew.
Okay, well that's cool. But that's all the figures. I don't know anything about when those are coming out at all. Those just got leaked today, and I just thought I'd share. But the Miles Morales game one is available now. So
I'm still waiting on my first one. That's still on pre-order.
I honestly think the first one's the better one because of the Miles head. But I mean, it is cool to. I mean, they found opportunities to re-release them for the second game, and I'm not going to knock them. If there's changes to the costume in the second game, then cool. Why not have a figure for it?
Tony Todd, who's voicing Venom in the second game.
Yes, he is.
He said in a Twitter post that game's coming out September. There's no release date for that game, but I think we're all assuming that'll be out later this year.
Oh yeah, I think I just read from the internet that it was September. I have no idea for sure.
But hopefully we see more soon.
Cannot wait.
All right, I may live to regret this, but before we get into the actual spotlight, I'm gonna do a round of Q&A with Clarke just to give him one last chance to get him ready for this discussion. Just a few questions from out there in the world that are relevant to what we got going on tonight. Here we go. First up, at Jeff, who's your favorite superhero ripoff / parody and why?
What do you mean ripoff parody?
I say this, or I mean, like I thought this question was cool because, there's a lot.
Like how Deadpool's a ripoff of Deathlock.
No, he's a ripoff of Deathstroke.
Deathstroke, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's up to your interpretation, whatever it is. But I know that in the world of Captain Marvels, there's more than one of them, for sure. There's definitely other characters that you could say are ripoffs. Spawn could be considered a ripoff of several other characters, like the Prowler, Venom, and Spider-Man. Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna go super nerdy because my nostalgia bug hit me as I was browsing Amazon the last week, and I bought the collected edition of one of the super greatest ripoff comic series of all time from Image Comics.
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere else.
Cyberforce.
All right. Got
Cyberforce
it.
by Mark Silvestri, which
Yeah.
every single character in this
Is a ripoff of something
is a
else, for sure.
ripoff of something,
Yeah,
and I'm
it's-
blurring
it's
it so I
self-
don't
Put
get
it in
sued.
front of your
It's
face.
self-censoring.
Put it in front of your face. There it is. There you go.
What were you
So
searching on
we have-
Amazon to get Cyberforce?
Yeah.
So this was on sale, and I just wanted to go down memory lane. And
I
it's
love that
actually
you
was
bought
really
this
fun.
days before you went to a comic convention.
It's about the same price as I would. I haven't seen this at a company. That's so true. But I don't want to carry it around. They deliver it right to my door.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
But
Ricky, are you well versed enough to know the answer to this, or hazard an answer?
Through the leg.
It said ripoff or parody, whichever you guys want. I don't care.
Stuff that's probably offensive now, but and that I won't want to say. No, I can't think of a ripoff or a parody that I have a preference over the original.
Fair enough. Okay, well, I'll answer my answer. I am partial to the Tick. I thought Clarke was going there. I love Deflator Mouse from the Tick cartoon because that is a hilarious opera reference and parody of Batman. I'm going to move on to the next one. Fake Zuko asked, what was the first Marvel and DC comic you read?
Combined?
I think it's both.
Oh.
Unless you read Amalgam.
that was not the first.
Yeah.
Spider-Man and probably G.I. Joe.
Those were
from
both
Marvel.
Marvel.
I know. I'm trying to think of the first. The first DC that I read was probably Superman.
Yeah. You know what? When I saw this question, I was like, I don't even know what the first DC comic I read was, but my Marvel was definitely Spider-Man. But I'm gonna say it was probably Batman, but possibly Superman. It might have been a Superman comic.
Because I know I was collecting Superman before he died.
Yeah, my first
my
first Spider-Man was in the black suit. So I didn't know that, like, I thought it was like a 50-50. He wears the red sometimes, he wears the black sometimes. I didn't know the proportions were like way skewed towards just a few years in the 80s, and that's it, you know. So it just so happened that was one of the first ones I read. I had one Spanish issue of Amazing or El Hombre de Araña. He was in the red and blue, and I had one American version, and he was in the black. And I was like, I guess he wears both. So yeah, but yeah. What about you, Ricky? Was it Runaways?
I mean, not Runaways. The first one I remember reading was when you got me the Spider-Man ones. You got me.
Oh, okay.
I still have those.
Ultimate Spider-Man, I think.
I think it was. He fights the Vulture in one of them.
I mean, that's not very descriptive.
It really, I enjoyed them. I like the colors.
Nice.
Then it was probably Ultimate.
It was probably Ultimate.
Colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, the first. Well, actually, no, I lie. I was gonna say the first DC comic I read was the 4K DC stuff, but I've read the what's the Batman mutant one, Dark Knight Returns.
Oh yeah. Dark Knight Returns.
That's a good one.
That's a good first one. That's
a
pretty good first one. All right. Cool. I like it.
I won a signed copy of Dark Knight Returns at WonderCon 2011.
Nice.
And, read it and then I sold it.
Side note, Gotham Knights is terrible, the TV show. If you haven't watched it, we forgot to include that in the nerd news. That is a whopping pile of shit.
That's because I have not watched it.
It is terrible. I'm still probably going to watch the second episode just to see how much worse it gets. But it does. You reminded me because they actually include the mutants from.
Do they have the cool glasses?
They have the glasses. I don't know if I would call them cool.
Oh, I kind of want to watch it if they have the glasses.
They're in one quick scene. It's bad.
I
It's
watched
bad.
Lego Batman not too long ago again, and the mutants are in there, and I forgot they were in there. It's kind of
Oh,
good.
gosh.
It's really
Nice.
good.
At Make Them Eat Cake, which Captain Marvel do you prefer? There's actually several.
Yeah.
There's. I don't think anyone's going to answer Marvel.
No, I'm not gonna not Captain Marvel. I'm
Angela
gonna actually
Bassett?
say the Shazam Marvel.
I would too, honestly, because I grew
From
up with him being
because
Captain
I
Marvel.
did grow up with him as being Captain Marvel, and it's something that we can talk about later in the thing. But I think
Yeah.
losing that name has always just made the character so much weaker now.
It's true.
And
I do love Carol Danvers, and I loved her. I loved her more when she was Miss Marvel or Warbird. But like, I don't think anything has been added to her by being named Captain Marvel, other than it just feels appropriate that somebody at Marvel be named Captain
But
Marvel.
I will be honest, both Billy Batson and Carol Danvers are not very high in my pantheon of favorite characters. So, like, to me, that's like,
who's your favorite on-screen Captain Marvel?
Zach Levi.
All right. People like Chuck. I mean,
what about you, Ricky? You didn't answer the question.
I have more connection to Carol Danvers. I mean, I
fair enough. You have one terrible movie.
One
mediocre movie.
As we learned last week or last show, like I didn't realize that Shazam was not called Shazam for the majority of his. I thought
until 2011.
Yeah, I thought that was way later. But
nah, they just tested. They wanted to see how long Marvel would go without ever saying anything, even though legally they had no claim to that name since the 70s. Man, it's pretty nuts. All right, last question before we get into it. I think we've been teeing it up. Confused Nerd asks, "Isn't the wizard's name Shazam?"
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why it's so damn confusing, right? His name should not be Shazam. No. It should be Captain Marvel. You want to do this? You want to talk about it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. All right. We waited long enough. It's time to put a spotlight on Shazam, Fury of the Gods. But before we do, spoiler warning. If you haven't watched it yet, like most of America, please turn away and come back when you have, unless you don't care and then you want to listen to us spoil the whole movie. Cool. That out of the way, I want to do kind of like a lightning round with this one. I mentioned earlier in the show, we all watched this at different times in our lives. I watched this on Monday. I think, Ricky, you watched it last Thursday, and Clarke watched it about 7 months ago. And Clarke, I appreciate that you're doing this show and you didn't get a chance to go watch it again. And I'm cool with that. I actually think that's awesome. I wouldn't force you to go watch the movie. I knew that you'd seen it, and you're one of the only few friends of mine I've known that actually was available and also did go see this movie at some point in his life. So your opinion matters. Your opinion matters.
And it really it shows how different the situation was, because again, when I saw it is before Black Adam came out. There was none of this talk about DC being reworked and stuff.
When you saw it, Ezra Miller was not weird.
No, Ezra Miller was weird.
And Black Adam was potentially going to be the thing that you would fight next time after another movie, right?
And that was a surprise, and it was closer to it, and so that's why, like, all this talk, the Gal Gadot. Let's see, we're going to draw in the spoilers. The Gal Gadot cameo was a big deal back then. They want to make sure we didn't talk about it. That was and yet now they were so desperate they had to release that in before it came out, just to try to get some sort of excitement.
Oh, is it in trailers and stuff?
Yes,
it's in trailers and stuff.
I haven't even watched the trailers. I just don't.
But when I first saw, I will say this: I did read a plot synopsis of the current release to make sure there were no big changes, and there were not.
You want to give the plot synopsis for us so that people know? Because normally I do it, but
no.
All right. Well, can I try really quick before?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is a sequel to the movie that we actually just discussed last week, Shazam. If you remember, when the end of that movie, Billy ends up bestowing all of his power to his other, adopted brothers and sisters to form the Shazam family in order to defeat Dr. Savannah and the Seven Deadly Sins. And then, so that no one else can do it, Billy breaks the staff owned by the wizard Shazam over his knees, so that you know it's not a plot point ever again. And then fast forward to 2023, and that staff is a plot point. And it turns out that that staff has ended up in a museum, and the Daughters of Atlas have gone to claim it because even broken, it still possesses the ability to unlock magic, and they are long lost. Um, Basically the descendants of Atlas, literally the daughters of Atlas, from the Greek mythology, and they want to restore their garden with the seed of, what was
The
it? The seed of
apple.
the apple of like eternity or something
They
like
need to
that.
plant the magic apple to bring magic back to the world.
Apple MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Yes, Apple MacGuffin, the golden apple, and which is also from the 12 labors of Hercules. Um, Anyways, they so that's the whole quest is they want to go the wizard apparently hid the apple in the Shazam lair, and so now they've got the staff, but they also want to go get the apple, and so they end up butting heads with the Shazam family, and then that just ensues for like 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's way too long. And uh with that out of the way, now I will let you talk about it. Oh yeah, Wonder Woman shows up for some reason.
Wow. Yeah, that was
It's not a little negative.
so uh back
You
when I
think
saw,
I got negative?
no, one of my favorite, aspects of the first movie was the family, which I really liked. And one of the things that I really liked about this one was that they kept the family, and the family was front and center. We talked a little bit about early in the episode about how much of a bigger character and how well written Freddy was. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the most interesting character is the non Shazam, you know, brother and stuff,
Right.
and he was killing it. We were laughing. He was magnetic.
Isn't it right?
He had more charisma than Zachary Levi, and
Fred,
that's
both versions of Freddy were the
yes.
part of this movie. Uh, Aside from also Jaimin Hansu as the Wizard Shazam, who died in the last movie, but then they gave him a big old part in this movie. And I don't know if he was prominent in the version you saw,
Yep.
but him and Freddy actually had a whole story arc together, and they were the best. They had
Mhm.
such great chemistry, and they stole the whole movie for me. And it just made me mad because I'm like, well, didn't I come to see Shazam? I came to see a Shazam movie, right? Like, this is so weird.
Yeah, you feel a little duped, right? Like this movie to me feels like the product of just like market testing, right? Like like Clark
Well,
when
I
you
mean,
came
if they
when you
had
came
Clarke
out
go
of
see it last year,
your screening,
Yeah.
like did you like the family? Check. Did you like Freddy? Check. Did you
That
like Wonder Woman? Yeah. All right. Here's
Hey,
the
that could
movie.
be my fault because I put Freddie with my number one thing. So I will take the blame on that one.
It's
But I
like an
did.
everything
But there are
bagel.
things that I mentioned about how the fight with the dragon at the end needed to be have a little bit more than just the. Um, and then I immediately saw that in the trailers they had more scenes with the dragon, with him like throwing the truck at the dragon. That wasn't in the version that I saw. Uh, and so I did see, some stuff, but I one of the biggest things I said though is that in the movie Shazam, and I hate calling him that, he did not feel like a superhero who could rival Superman.
yeah,
They needed to up his power level way more. He did not feel like he is one of the most powerful people in the DC universe. We talk about so many things, but he's supposed to be one of the few people who can beat Superman. and you do not feel that from this movie.
Yeah.
There's like
I
a
will
weird
say
lack of growth for his character in this movie.
there's no growth. It's actually reverse. I would say
Yeah.
the craziest growth actually occurred in the hormones of all the children. Oh my god, like, that for me was the first jarring thing, like, that they had to write a line in to explain that Billy is 1 month away from 18, even though Asher Angle's probably, like, 22 already by the time he's in this
Yeah.
movie. Uh, he was huge. He was so buff, like, and I was, like, really weirded out by it. I was like, "But Billy Batson's supposed to be a cute little boy," and I get it. I understand age happens, and that's the problem with a character like Shazam, but the thing I thought was weird is, you know how last week we sat here, Ricky, and I talked about how I totally believed that Zach Levi was Billy Batson every time, right? Like every
Mhm.
scene. I felt a giant disconnect between the two in this movie because every time we see Billy in this movie, he's pretty serious. He's a man of few words. I say man because he was a full grown man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and he doesn't have he doesn't have that free spirit that he kinda had at some points in the first movie. He's just kind of over he's burdened by being the leader of this superhero group. And then every time you see Shazam, he's just being silly and he's just having fun and he's just doing whatever he wants. But at the same time, he's also like, hey guys, pay attention to this. I made these cool graphs, I made these cool video and blah blah PowerPoint and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I'm not feeling it. The
There's no
magic's gone.
Billy though in this movie. Like
Mhm.
I'd be willing to bet there's less than 7 minutes of Billy in this movie.
That's what I'm saying,
Mhm.
and that's what makes it wrong. Like that's why I have a problem with this movie is that you took away your focal point, right? Like we sat here last week and I asked you what was the most marvelous moment, and for you, you said it was when he goes to see his mom,
Mhm.
and I was blown away by that one, but then also I think it paired perfectly when I said my favorite moment is when he realized that he could give his powers to his new family, right? And I think those two together make a full arc for that character Billy. But what was his arc in this movie? What was his story? Like I
Yeah.
didn't get it.
I think
Mhm.
I mean they've tried to position as like making the ultimate sacrifice, but it's just
You know,
muddy.
right. And
Um
it's hard because I liked having, again, the family dynamic. I liked the rest of the family, but they didn't put enough emphasis on Billy.
mhm.
I totally agree with you on that.
And
And
the
I
and the and I think that the other problem is like his weird logic betrayed him again in this movie, just like it did in the first movie. Remember how, like last week, I talked about how like the weird line he had that was like it was supposed to be like his catchphrase, but he says like, "What kind of a superhero can't save his own family?" And I'm like, well, I think there's several superheroes that would object to that statement, but I appreciate the intent, right? Um, I think he did it again in this movie when at the end of the movie he decides, even though his whole thing has been all or none the entire movie, right? The entire movie he says we only go superheroing together as a family. We never do it by ourselves. And then at the end he's like, we're doing all or none. And by all I mean all of you get to be safe, none of you get hurt.
well they
And
do
I'm
a
like,
plot reason on why they all don't have powers.
yeah, but he could easily give him back. Like, he can give him back at any time. He has the staff at the end of the
Mhm.
movie. He has the ability to give him back the powers. He just doesn't do it because he decides the only way to keep him safe is to sacrifice himself. And I'm like, I don't understand where that came from in the logic when I actually just wanted to see you as a family come together and do something awesome. You know what I mean? Like for me, I think like, and I will ask you guys this question too, but for me, that's why it ended up being the most marvelous moment in this movie for me was the bridge at the beginning of the movie.
Hmm.
When I saw them working together as a team to save every single human being on this bridge that was collapsing, I was like overjoyed. I was like, this movie's cool, man. I'm so happy I get to
It's a
see
really
them do
strong
this.
scene because like you see them succeeding in their own eyes, but then you do that quick cut of like, Oh yeah, the bridge fell down,
Yeah, no, I
and
know.
it really worked really well. It was super funny.
But he saves somebody while she's listening to Bonnie Tyler's "Hero." I Need a Hero,
Yes.
and it's like it's such a magical scene, and it betrays the rest of the movie because the rest of the movie never does that again. It never lets you enjoy the joy of them all together doing stuff.
Even when they release the unicorns and
Yeah, I
do
guess that was
the
Darla's story arc, right? Is she
yeah
got a unicorn? Like,
uh they never had that coercion, except I mean they had more coercion when they were talking as a family than acting as superheroes. They had never had that kind of superhero bonding as that beginning bridge scene. Yeah.
yeah,
I will say I do the scenes when they're in the layer together, but when they're all together,
Yeah.
as heroes, that's when this movie shines. Like
Mhm.
I alluded last week, but the wisdom of Solo Man made me crack out loud so much
well,
because
I think you cracked up because like you mentioned it last week, right? Is that you were saying because I was listing off the all the attributes that the name
Mhm.
spells out, and you were like, I kind of feel like he's
the dude's
lacking the
pretty
wisdom of
dumb.
Solomon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And
that was part of the plot in this one.
Mhm.
right, but it's in
I
his
don't think they
heart,
show. I
right?
don't think
Yeah.
they showed it. I mean,
The movie didn't do a good job of showing versus telling, is what
showing
it did.
wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely did a lot more telling about like and that's what I had a problem with is like whereas the first movie did a lot to try and like show you what's going on and you had like these cool seven deadly sins that are like kind of nightmare fuel, but they're also like you get it. You understand the seven deadly sins, right? You
Mhm.
understand their point and everything. And I just felt like this movie just the second movie just felt the need to explain everything that was going on. Like I didn't need the extensive explanation about the plot twist that Anthea was the other daughter of Atlas
Yeah,
when it
that
was
was
really
very obvious.
it was so telegraphed. Oh,
Yeah.
new girl at school coincidentally when other, evil people show up. Sure. But it was just really weird how much they had to explain things but I think the weirdest part for me about this whole movie is like I'm a nerd, right? I'm a comic book nerd and I knew something smelled off about these daughters of Atlas. And when I finally read that they do not appear in the comics and are original characters created for the film, boo! That's a giant boo for me. Why? Why did you need to do this? Oh, I know why. Because you couldn't get Dwayne Johnson to be in your movie as the villain, the actual villain that should have been the villain in a
But I
Shazam
mean, I
movie.
would have been happy with like going down the Mr. Mind thing.
Exactly. Give us an actual you teed up Mr. Mind at the end of the first movie. Make him the bad
Like get
guy.
weird, right? Like get weird and dumb, like in the
Why?
best ways.
Like, were you excited, Clark, when the Daughters of Atlas showed up in this movie?
Only because I was like, "Oh, hey, Lucy Liu. I haven't seen her for a while."
Yeah, you know what I thought when I saw you, Lucy Liu and Helen Mirror? I don't want to see Shazam punch them in the face. Like,
It's a little
I
weird.
don't want to see that. I
A
don't
little
want to
weird.
see that.
Granny Goodner, as Frank
I
Frank always says.
I was wondering because I didn't recognize what characters they were, and then they had that scene in the museum, and they're turning people to stone. I'm like, oh, this is kind of disturbing.
Yeah,
Is that the guy from Peacemaker? Like, is he the same character?
I don't.
In the
I don't.
museum, the tour guide is the janitor in Peacemaker.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
is-
You could be right. I'll have to go back and check that
Yeah.
someday. Yeah, you're right. He is. It's the same actor.
Mhm.
That's funny. Or sad.
I mean, to kind of loop
But
it to the end where
yeah.
they bring out was the end credits in there, Clark, of having the Peacemaker
No,
people.
no,
Like, why even add that at this point?
yeah.
Like, and to tee
So that
up
I read
the
about, yeah.
Justice Society, like,
That's so
sure,
like
I'll take any cameo I can get, but
yeah, well,
for something that's dead,
in
like
fairness, like this movie apparently was delayed a giant amount of
Yeah,
time
remember
due to COVID.
this was supposed to come out a year ago.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out a
totally,
year ago.
Yeah.
but just cut the
So
scene, like, like
Oh, for sure. They didn't feel like touching anything at all.
Mhm.
Like teeing up the Justice Society is cool if this movie is meant to just fill time until Black Adam shows up and then the intent is Shazam 3 be the face off. Yes, that makes sense. But the problem I had is knowing all the backstage drama that's
Mhm.
gone on while I'm watching this movie. I was super disappointed to know
Mhm.
that this is how it's going to end. And like I was also really confused by a lot of decisions that were present in that movie. One of which being, okay, so we have the Daughters of Atlas, and we have like Aquaman who rocks the trident of Poseidon, and we have Ares who was the villain in one of the first movies. And so when the wizard Shazam says there are no other gods, and for me, it felt like that Luke Skywalker moment in The Mandalorian, where it's just like, really, guys, you're
Yeah.
gonna say there is one, and miraculously Wonder Woman's gonna show up. I was thinking the entire movie when the entire city of Pittsburgh or sorry,
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia is covered in a giant dome and nobody can get in or out. Where's the freaking Justice League?
They're outside the bubble. I will say that they do a really good job of like. I thought
They're
that was pretty airtight. All right, they're
they're
like,
in
all
the
right,
same place they
they
were
You
put
for
him
thought
in
that was
the.
Suicide Squad.
airtight? You
I
thought
thought
that
it
was
was pretty
airtight?
airtight that like as soon as they put the stupid bubble over the city, I'm like, okay, I know exactly why they're doing this. So a Superman who we've already seen show up in a Shazam movie in some capacity does not show up.
It's not airtight. It's not airtight
Would it have been
because
funny to do like a Peacemaker bit where you just see a shadow of them outside of the thing? 100%. But knowing the external forces behind this movie, I thought that was pretty as airtight as you're gonna get.
it was just frustrating that like the DC the problem is the DC universe operates on such a grand scale, but they don't respect the scale by operating the heroes on the same scale as well. You know what I mean? So like when they have giant rays of light shoot up out of the city, like in the first Suicide Squad, you don't get the Suicide Squad to go deal with that without having other people show up. You know what I mean? Like they don't manage things well like this, and that's why Marvel's been doing weird stuff like going into the quantum realm or going into the multiverse and stuff like that because it's easier to have these self-contained stories if you don't have to explain where everybody else is. So when you have Wonder Woman show up at the end of the movie, well, then my question is, well, where the hell were you through the rest of the movie? You know what
Outside
I
the
mean?
bubble.
I mean, they had that earlier cameo with him having dinner,
But she's
which
not
was
in the scene, actually. It's
yeah,
just somebody
yeah,
wearing the costume.
that was the
Yeah.
bait, which is
I
why I liked it. I was like,
at least they teed it up. They teed up the joke, right?
yes,
But the larger problem I have with that scene is Shazam made a sacrifice to die for his family. Cut to next scene, resurrected.
yeah,
What?
I mean, the argument would be that it's a kids movie ish at the end of the day, but I will say this movie has a scene where they make a man commit suicide, and you hear it.
And it's Diedrich Bader. Come on, that's
yes,
not
So
cool.
like it's kind of a little weird. Like, and the monsters are still on that same horror level,
yeah,
so
they're scary. Mhm.
it's a little weird. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all weird, but
No.
it's yeah. I mean, it puts the bow right on the Shazam
but the problem is, yeah,
cinema outing.
we have no hope that they'll be better. This is it. It's done.
Yeah. And that's the thing that hurts me the
Yeah.
most. And you know, all the drama that goes on outside makes it really hard for me to enjoy this.
Hmm.
I can't really recommend this movie. I don't think I guess if you really like Shazam and you want to just watch some more of them, sure. But there's nothing about this movie that's really redeeming to me because it just exists in this weird in between space where now we're just waiting for the Flash to come and fix stuff, and hopefully
I mean,
maybe
it's
one day
like I know
Zach
you
Levi.
like Black Adam more, but this is your feelings are now how I felt going into Black Adam because the cracks were there with Black Adam, and that's like maybe a week after or two. That's when all
Yeah,
that news started coming out.
but the difference is Black Adam actually world builds the DC universe in meaningful ways and also uses characters from the comic books.
Fair, that's fair.
Except, like, since I don't know any of the characters in the Shazam comic books, I didn't care as much because, I mean, I don't know Mr. Mind.
But are you ever cool when you find out after the fact from a mediocre movie that they didn't use real characters from the comics?
No, I get your point, but
Yeah.
it
Doesn't
doesn't
it
hit as
burn
hard.
extra?
Mm. Like
Rumble, rumble.
the amount extra is like just a little bit extra because there's so many other issues, with it.
Yeah.
So, um, but what I told people, for the few people that I told when I saw it, is like, okay, if you like the first one, you'll like the next one. Uh, that 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 changed a little bit though, but as you said, because of the surrounding circumstances
Yeah. Yeah.
and stuff. But again, like, you know, I really like the family stuff. It's to me, it's worth it just to watch Freddy.
Freddy's great.
I do want to
Freddy's
see it
great.
again. I am going to
They're
go see it again with my A list. This week was really, really. I had rehearsals most night. I just couldn't fit it in, but I want to see it again. If for
Freddy's
nothing
great.
more
on a
than to see, when I saw it, the dragon was a bunch of pixels.
on a
Freddy's
side
great.
note, I always like when they beat up Freddy in the first movie and the second movie. I'm like, those are like crimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
like go to jail crimes.
There's quite a bit of ableism from those bullies and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't like the bullies.
It's pretty intense. I think everything's just cranked up a bit much. I will say this though, the nightmare fuel in this movie is dialed down about one notch compared
Mhm.
to the previous movie. And I
Yeah.
kind of liked it more for that. I was telling Ricky the funny thing about when I rewatched the Jam last week and then read about all the details and learned that David F. Sandberg actually his inspiration for the Seven Deadly Sins was the terror dogs from Ghostbusters.
Mhm.
That suddenly made me totally okay with that movie because I'm like, okay, you know what? The terror dogs were nightmare fuel for anybody growing up in the 80s, but it didn't stop you from loving Ghostbusters. It just
Yeah.
felt like those things are a little bit more
They give the movie
extra.
some bite, right? Like it's
Yeah, yeah. And literally they bite a guy's head off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I was actually I was kind of like comforted and also underwhelmed by the Greek mythological beasts that showed up in this movie because I'm like, okay, you're definitely slightly less terrifying. You're also kind of boring looking to me. I don't know what it
yeah,
is about
when
them.
they
Like
wrangle up
Cyclops
all the
and
unicorns and
Yeah.
they group all the monsters into like a circle,
yeah.
and the harpies are just there. I'm like,
Yeah. The harpies are just there. Yeah.
wouldn't they
There's
just be
just
flying away?
There's
Like
cyclopses, and like what's really funny is like you see one cyclops die from like getting impaled by a unicorn, and I'm like, Cabin in the Woods did it better. And then you see another cyclops that's the exact same character model as the one I just saw die, and I'm like, you guys aren't even gonna dress them different. Like they're not even gonna have like different like makeup or characteristics. It's exactly clones.
were
So
the
that
Skittles in there, Clark?
Yes.
Okay, they
the
got that product
Skittles
placement early.
The
Yeah.
Skittles was funny, but strange to me that that was the leap they went from like it's supposed to taste like honey, like
Mhm.
nectar of the gods. I was
Well,
like,
like the sweetest thing, right? Like,
Skittles does not taste like honey,
I
bro.
mean,
Like
that's you gotta. Hey, man, those
yeah,
deals pay the bills right there. So
yeah. But were you pleasantly surprised to see that character that was dressed up like the old school Billy Batson call Billy
Yeah,
Captain
Captain
Marvel?
Marvel. Yeah, that was there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that actually was the
That
actor who
was
played
yeah,
Billy
I
Batson
recognized
back
him.
in the
Mhm.
day. Because I mentioned to Ricky, like Shazam or Captain Marvel actually is the first character to ever get a superhero movie.
is that a movie or a show?
Both. He's had both.
Yeah.
He's but the first to ever be a movie. And so he's had a long history of actors play him. And so yeah, that actor was from the original or not the original. I think one of the
No,
older
the
ones.
kid was from the movie for the TV show.
Yeah. The kid was from the 1974 TV show.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Yes, because the person from the movie would be dead by now.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
The movie's old. The movie's like from like the 30s, I
30s.
think. Yeah, 1939, I think was the.
I figured by the shirt he was wearing that there was some
He was dressed as
connection.
Billy Batson. Yeah,
Yeah.
That was the same shirt that he wore. And
Yeah. Also, Darla, they had to make that reference to the tiger one more time. She stole that kitten and named it Tawny.
Mhm.
I don't know if you noticed that, if that was in your version. I'm trying to remember any other things. Annabelle doll once again appears. This is like the
In the
fourth DC
therapist.
movie,
Yeah.
third or fourth DC movie to appear in, just because every time somebody involved in the Conjuring universe directs a DC movie, they stick Annabelle in there wherever they can. Yeah, I'm trying to remember anything else. Grace Caroline Curry, who plays Mary Bromfield, also plays her superhero form in this movie. Apparently, it was two different actresses in the first movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could barely tell the difference.
I kind of liked it. It bothered me when I first saw it, and then as moving on, I'm like, oh, it makes sense. She's
because she
over-
was older in
yeah,
this.
she's
But
older now.
by older, you mean she was about to go to college, so she was 18. So what's up with Billy being played by Zach Levi?
Yeah.
I mean, Mary has a better agent. That's what you're telling me.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that actually made the disconnect even greater for me. Is seeing, like, at first I'm like, that's cool that one gets to do it, but they just said he's 18, and then Freddie's like 1 month younger than Billy, apparently, according to the movie. So now I'm really confused. But in fairness, Adam Brody looks a hell of a lot like Freddie. So that helps. But yeah, there was just weird little things that were just, I'm just getting into my nitpicks now, which means we should probably wrap this up soon. Do you guys have anything else you want to say about this movie? Like, are you ever gonna watch this again? Like for fun, or?
I might. It's one of those. Hey, we're cleaning. Let's put on Shazam. I don't want to dunk on it too much because I really did like the first movie. I think this is definitely a step down into that B level. But I don't think it's we've gone through the Morbiuses, right? We've gone through the bottom of the barrel before.
I would watch this over Morbius any day.
Yeah, it doesn't live there.
I would watch this over Morbius or Green Lantern or Batman versus Superman or Justice League.
Okay,
for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, it's still upper echelon for sure. Probably.
I would watch it over Aquaman.
It still makes me chuckle.
Upper echelon of the DCEU for sure.
It's in the top half.
It makes me sad because, again, they don't have any more room to grow because of the politics of the whole studio where it goes. And they talked about they were kind of coy about whether or not Shazam was going to be part of the universe going forward.
Yeah.
But, I think it's pretty obvious that it's not. But to me though, the whole character is always going to be hobbled by not being able to be Captain Marvel, because Shazam is such a stupid name when you can't say your own name because it turns.
And you have to ask somebody what your name is.
Yeah. What's my name? No, the other one.
I think that's a you guys' problem though. Like I feel like now that we've gotten Shazam movies, the next time we do a Shazam movie, it's that much easier.
I never feel comfortable calling him Shazam.
Yeah, it's a weird name. I'm not gonna let that stop me from enjoying a Shazam movie, but it does get on my nerves. I will say, I did you guys feel anything weird about like the costume adjustments they made this time around? They changed the costumes, and I didn't understand why. And if they're magical costumes, I'm like, why do they look different?
They're magic. Like, they just do magic. Magic stuff changes.
I was weirded out by Shazam specifically because in the first movie, they made a point of giving him two capes, the short one and the long one, at the same time to pay tribute to his origins, right? And I thought that was a really cool look that he worked really well. Like he made it work. And then in this movie, they're like, nah, just one cape. And the other thing that I thought was really weird is like, which is kind of cool, but he's less buff. He's less buff this time around because he's less padded.
He looks more natural.
He
I
does
I
look
kind
more
of like it.
natural.
The first
Yeah, but
movie, he's
he's
looking a little weird.
The first movie, it's a little bit much, but like he's more in line with what
he's
Shazam
supposed to
should
be a
look
Dorito
like.
chip. Yeah,
Yeah, he is supposed to
he's
be giant.
But the first movie, I think, goes into man in suit territory.
But
Like that's
yeah.
the trick is put the padding, but make it.
The strength of Hercules, man.
I don't
The
know.
strength of Hercules. He should
Uh,
look
look,
he
he's
should
supposed
look
to
as
look like The
big.
Rock.
He's supposed to actually be a spitting like
Yeah.
double like an image, so much so that he's a copyright infringement of Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
like
if he had the body type of like Pedro, right? I think that's would be in line. But I think he looked to me he looked a little too synthetic in the first movie. So I'd rather have this than
all right, fair enough. I didn't like the changes. I also don't understand why they put all this extra little metal stuff all over.
I mean,
his
they
suit.
took away Mary's pants, right? Like they did everyone's chance. Or
I thought Mary had a skirt in the last one.
She had like leggings underneath, didn't she?
Mm,
Or she had like a
no.
longer skirt.
No, she had a skirt, but this
She's
time
always
around
had a
she's got like shorts under the skirt like Wonder Woman. It's a little different. It's all a little different. It's okay. It's just my little
His
nitpick. I
chest
just
doesn't
wanted
light
to
up
ask.
either.
That
But I
was
would
the
say,
one that really bothered me. Is their chests don't light up all the time.
Is that a big deal?
That in the first movie they're always lit up.
Yeah, but is that like a Shazam thing, or that was just like the first movie thing? Or you know what I mean?
Keep some consistency in your movies, right? Have some internal consistency.
Easier to model, right?
But then he does have a glow at the end. I was confused. I was like, all right, so it does glow, just not all the time. All right, we're definitely in the nitpick territory now. I want to stop this because this is
all right.
I appreciate you guys for doing this. I thank you for taking the time to talk about Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I just wanted to have this recorded. I wanted to say, hey, we watched Shazam: Fury of the Gods and we talked about it. And if anybody has beef with our decisions, cool, bring it up in the comments. Let us know what you think about this movie and why you think we're wrong or whatever. But yeah, I think we got to wrap this up. And I want to say thanks to Clarke and Ricky for doing this. Really appreciate Clarke for doing double duty with us this week. That was pretty awesome. Thanks to our patrons for supporting our growth and to our audience for tuning in. If you had fun, please remember to like and subscribe and check us out on Patreon for all the other content we got out there. Like We Have Spoken and Crack and Snap and our usually our after show that we do, the Soapbox. It's all there. It's all there. Okay. You guys got anything else to add before we take off?
Nothing.
All right, guys. See you next time on Den Excelsior, True Believers. Enough said.